I've been contemplating a lot as of recently, and I've been contemplating about various things that we take for granted. I've been contemplating about the essence of life. I've been contemplating about art. I've been contemplating on love. I've been contemplating on war. I've been contemplating on day to day conflicts. I've been contemplating on my shyness. I've been contemplating on everything that I can possibly think about. And I think that's one of my favorite things to do is just to think about things. And the problem with that, when you talk about such diverse array of topics to think about, and and at the end of the day, you realize that all those topics are very much interconnected with each other. The problem with that is that when you try to build upon a certain topic, you can't do that without really incorporating other things into it. And when you start doing that, you start thinking about how little you understand of the other things as well, which makes it very difficult for me to convey what I essentially want to do with these videos when it comes to talking about the nature of love or what the essence of life might be. So, this is why I'm creating this series called Yesterday's Insights, where since insights come to me very um, quite frequently, honestly, about various things of life, I feel that it's easier for me to just discuss about what I was thinking about yesterday rather than trying to piece together a very structured video on one subset of a major topic. And the, and I want to say that this idea first came to me when one of my dear friends came to visit me. There's something stuck in my throat. Apologies for that. Just give me a sec. Right. So, when he came and visited me, he asked me about my best friends. As in, I'm not all that much in touch with them. So he just wanted to ask me, like, hey, is everything good? And in my mind, it has always been good. I mean, we've, ever since we graduated out of college, we wanted different things for ourselves, all of us. And so I told him that, yes, we are good. It's just that when you grow differently, like my objectives in life are very different from their objectives in life. Uh, so when you're trying to grow differently, it's important that you also grow separately, so that your agendas don't conflict with their understanding of their worldview and their survival means, and vice versa. Because that leads to a lot of conflict, and it's not very straightforward that somebody is even able to understand where you are coming from and why you are opting for a certain kind of strategy. That's one of the biggest downfalls of humanity across history, if you really look up, because we 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 end up judging somebody's inability to understand a certain scenario when you don't even understand where they are coming from in the first place. The reason why they have the opinions and the worldviews that they do is because they've come from a certain survival background. They've come from a certain family that dogmatically taught them a bunch of morals and values and ethics to follow through in life. And so did their religion, so did their schooling. And the more you'll see the distance upon which you like grew up, that physical distance, the more that it is, the more you understand that people are very, very different from you. The physical makeup might be very similar, but the internal operating software, that is extremely divergent with so many people. And so I want to get to my last point for the day, which is that now we know that there are so many independent variables that are associated with shaping somebody into who they are and what kind of worldviews and values that they have. But it's also important to recognize that some of our experience of life is very similar. Like, we all stop at a red light. Um, in that way, it's very similar to how we exist. But also, it's not all that similar because you could be into R&B and rap, but your best friend could be into heavy metal and death metal. Those feel like poles apart, and you never gelled with him for liking that, and he never gelled with you for liking that. So there's always a conflict as to who is going to man the radio when you guys are going for a road trip, or when you guys are hosting a karaoke night or something like that, right? um but still, even then, even though your preferences might differ, the art, the music, all of that still is very much independent. It exists independently from your experience, but at the same time, it cannot exist without you experiencing it. Um, so, in essence, what I'm trying to convey is that your interpretation of art is actually more important than the art itself, because without you, there is no art. And people tend to take it a little backwards in the sense that uh, they try to convince you that no, art is something that's very objective. It's not all that subjective. And they give you these explanations of what art is rather objectively. Like, if you go to a museum, underneath the description of the art, the description will contain what the art is about. And sometimes, if you look at it, if you're walking around a museum with an audio recording and all, sometimes it's nice to have that historical reference upon which you are viewing that artwork. But sometimes they try to really overemphasize on a certain point, which makes you, as the viewer, feel like, oh shit, am I really that dumb that the museum does not trust me enough to understand and appreciate the beauty of the art, and always feel like it needs to give me some sort of prerequisite knowledge for me to even admire that creation? In some cases, that's valid, but I feel like we should give the viewer the benefit of the doubt, because his interpretation of that art will be very attuned to the life that he's lived or she's lived, completely gender neutral here. And, and yeah, it's just, we shouldn't take that for granted. Nobody really looks at the same rainbow at once, because the rainbow that you are viewing is not the rainbow that somebody else is seeing, because the way in which the light has been dispersed and it reaches your eye from one point and the other point, the rainbows are going to look completely different. So, next time when you when you come across a piece of art that moves you, whether that be a film, animated series, music videos, just music in general, paintings, any kind of art really, when you come across that, just try to appreciate the nuances of that artwork that you can distinguish for yourself, that makes it distinct from every other piece of art that you've seen. Because it's more likely than not that if you've seen this one film and you really like the art of this film, you compare that in context with all of the other films that you watched prior and all the films that you're going to be watching after that. It sets a benchmark for you as to what art can truly be. But what essentially makes up for that benchmark? What is the method in which you are evaluating the score to reach that benchmark? Distinguishing that for yourself will make you extremely cognizant of everything. Everything. It's gonna make you more involved in your life. So that's it from me today. I know that this was a short episode. Most of these are going to be short because I'm going to try doing daily uploads of these, or as daily as possible that my lifestyle currently permits, because my lifestyle is a little hung ho right now. uh, and I'm really trying to like streamline and align that such that I can give more of my time and dedicate more of my energy towards doing this, because this is very computationally intensive up here. And some days I just don't feel like I have the bandwidth to put myself in a spot where I can present myself in front of the camera, because I have a certain expectation for myself to present. But oftentimes I don't meet that, whether that be in terms of my energy or in terms of the way of speaking, or if I have a sore throat like I did. Something always keeps coming up, which keeps me wanting to put it off until a better day. But a better day is not going to come. You got to create that. So that's something that I've noticed in myself, and I felt like I needed to come and express that to you and just be vulnerable and be comfortable being vulnerable. Because at the end of the day, no one's really watching. So it's just you and me. And we have a bright future ahead of us. But anyways, I digress. Stay tuned for more. There is definitely more coming. And the depth of my work is evolving. It's is going at a much slower rate than I would like, because I have multiple projects running, but it is coming along quite well. And those multiple projects are necessary for me to make these uh, discernments for myself. So, thank you so much for watching. This is Philly Wonka signing off, and peace.